How much of your life has been shaped by the constant need for approval? Think about it. How many choices have you made, not because they were right for you, but because you feared judgment from others? Imagine a world where every action you take is measured against the expectations of society, where your self-worth isn't determined by your own values, but by external validation. Sounds exhausting, doesn't it? What if I told you that this endless pursuit of approval is not just draining, but also preventing you from reaching your full potential? Today we're diving deep into the psychology behind this behavior, drawing from the insights of Carl Jung and Alfred Adler to uncover why we seek validation, and, more importantly, how we can break free. The final realization we will discuss is the most powerful of all, and it has the potential to change the way you see yourself and the world around you forever. Stay with me, because by the end of this journey, you may never look at approval the same way again. The conditioning of approval seeking. From the moment we are born, we crave approval. As children, we quickly learn that certain behaviors earn praise while others lead to disapproval. A smile from a parent, a teacher's nod of approval, the laughter of friends. These seemingly small moments teach us that our acceptance is tied to how well we conform. Over time, this conditioning becomes so deeply ingrained that we equate acceptance with self-worth. We start to believe that our value is determined by how much others approve of us. But here's the problem. No matter how hard we try, we can never please everyone. Carl Jung believed that this external conditioning forces us to create a persona, a social mask we wear to fit into the world. This persona isn't necessarily false. In fact, it's a necessary part of functioning in society. However, when we become too attached to it, we risk losing touch with our authentic selves. We start believing that our worth depends on meeting external expectations, and the parts of us that don't fit this ideal get pushed into what Jung called the shadow. The shadow consists of all the aspects of ourselves that we suppress because they don't align with what society deems acceptable. These aren't necessarily bad traits. Sometimes they're simply our true thoughts, desires, and emotions that we've learned to hide. Think about it. Have you ever held back an opinion because you feared it wouldn't be well received? Have you ever forced a smile when you felt like crying? Have you followed a life path that wasn't truly yours, just to gain acceptance? If so, you're not alone. These are signs that you're living for approval rather than authenticity. And the longer you do this, the more disconnected you become from who you really are. But here's the thing. Suppressing the shadow doesn't make it disappear. Instead, it manifests in unhealthy ways. Self-doubt, anxiety, resentment, or even depression. The more we ignore our true selves, the more fragmented we become, torn between who we are and who we think we need to be. The inferiority complex and the illusion of approval. Alfred Adler took these ideas further with his concept of the inferiority complex. He believed that much of human behavior stems from a deep-seated feeling of not being enough. This feeling drives us to seek external validation, hoping that admiration and approval will make us feel whole. But Adler's key insight was this: true confidence does not come from external validation. It comes from within. He argued that the healthiest individuals develop a strong sense of social interest, which is not about seeking approval, but about contributing to the world in a meaningful way. When you focus on living with purpose, you naturally stop craving approval. Why? Because your fulfillment comes from within, not from how others perceive you. So how do we escape this cycle? How do we break free from the need for validation and reconnect with our true selves? The first step is awareness. You must recognize how deeply this need for approval is embedded in your thoughts and behaviors. Ask yourself, how many of my choices are truly mine, and how many are shaped by the fear of judgment? How much of my identity is built on what I think others expect from me? Once you start questioning these patterns, you gain the power to change them. The truth is, no matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion about you. Some will approve, others will criticize. But here's the secret. Their opinions have nothing to do with your worth. The liberation of letting go. At first, letting go of the need for approval feels unsettling, even terrifying. You may worry about rejection, about losing people, about feeling isolated. But what if I told you that the very people you fear disappointing are also trapped in the same cycle? That they too are wearing masks, adjusting their personalities, and shaping their lives around the expectations of others. The reality is, most people aren't as focused on you as you think. They are too consumed with their own fears of judgment. Jung spoke about the process of individuation, the journey of integrating all parts of the self into a whole, authentic being. Individuation is not about rejecting society or becoming a loner. It's about discovering who you truly are beneath the layers of conditioning. It's about recognizing that your value does not come from how well you fit in, but from how deeply you understand yourself. If you want to stop seeking approval, you have to be willing to disappoint people. You have to accept that some won't understand you. You have to be okay with not everyone liking you. And that's not easy, but it's necessary. Every great thinker, innovator, and visionary in history faced rejection because they refused to conform. If they had sought constant approval, they would have never achieved anything meaningful. So ask yourself, how much of your life is spent making choices based on what others will think? How many times have you held yourself back because of fear of judgment? What would your life look like if you stopped needing permission to be yourself? The key to freedom is shifting from external approval to internal validation. Instead of asking, "Do they approve of me?" start asking, "Do I approve of myself?" Instead of trying to be what others want, focus on becoming the person you respect. Instead of fearing rejection, understand that rejection is proof that you are living authentically. Here's the final and most powerful realization. The need for approval is an illusion. The idea that you must be liked, accepted, or validated to be worthy is a belief conditioned into you from childhood. And like all beliefs, it can be questioned, challenged, and ultimately discarded. Imagine waking up tomorrow and no longer caring about external validation. Imagine making choices based on your own values, not fear. What would that feel like? Terrifying or liberating? The truth is, when you stop seeking approval, you don't end up alone. You end up surrounded by people who appreciate you for who you truly are. More importantly, you build an unshakable connection with yourself. The moment you decide that your worth isn't up for debate, you reclaim your freedom. So here's my final question for you. Are you ready to stop living for approval and start living for yourself? Because the life you truly want, the life that aligns with your deepest values and desires, begins the moment you decide that you are enough, exactly as you are.